Welcome back to the Peerless YouTube. I am Katie North, and today is class 2 of our Halloween mini-series, and this one is going to be the Mysterious Smoky Mountains, and it was also one of the tutorials that was requested on our Instagram, so thank you for the suggestion. I personally have not painted very many mountainscapes besides maybe in like the very background of my more detailed pieces, so I didn't have like too much thought going into how I was going to do this. So I did a couple studies. I've done this painting I think 3 times now, so you guys will definitely be learning with me and what I've kind of picked up along those 3 paintings, but by far not a landscape watercolorist at all. So if you have any tips and tricks, make sure to comment and we can try them for the next one too. So I hope you enjoy it. I think it's a fun class, and let's get started. All right, so now we're ready to start painting, and I have masked off the edges of my paper just to kind of give it a border. Just adds a nice little finished effect when you take the tape off. And pretty simple. We are only using 2 colors today, so it's going to be the red golden hair, because I absolutely love that it can go from yellow to like a almost burnt orange. I think it's so pretty, and for these fall trees that are at the bottom of this painting that we're doing, I feel like they look so pretty. And then the other color is just black. So pretty simple. You're going to fill up your entire page with water, and then you're going to mix a little bit of water in a dish with just a tint of the black. And then further at the top is going to be more water and less paint and a lighter gray. And then as you're going down, kind of give it some areas with the darker gray. And this is going to be semi outlines, but mostly just kind of giving us that that fog, like that dense fog on the misty mountains. And so some of them will be tree lines, but mostly fog. So you do want the page to be relatively wet because you don't want any brush strokes, and you want there to be a soft, even blend and kind of that, that really pretty softness. All right, so now we're going to do some vertical lines, and these are going to be kind of where you want your tree lines to be, or if you would like some that are in like trees that are visible through the fog, but they're not clear enough that you can see actual branches. So imagine them that way. The way that I am doing it is I'm just doing vertical lines with the most paint that I'm starting on the bottom, and then by the time most of the paint is gone and is a lighter gray, those are the ones that I'm going to be doing further away, and you can kind of just gauge whether it's light or dark. Most of the darker ones want to be closer to the bottom, the lighter ones want to be further away, so they'll be more towards the top of the paper. And yeah, again, they can be where you want your outlines to be of your trees, or trees that are in deeper of the fog that you just see like a slight silhouette, but you don't see individual branches. All right, and so we're going to add our small fall foliage trees down at the bottom of our painting. And so the painting's still pretty wet at this point. Like you can see those vertical lines, they're very soft in all of our fog areas. So you can see once I put down these, I'm just doing pretty much drops, but they're kind of fanning out into those snowflake patterns. That's just depends on how wet your paper is still too. So I knew I wanted them to kind of fan out enough and kind of eat away at that black color. So that's why I wanted to make sure that they are going in when the paper is wet enough. And then you can see too, like how yellow and pretty it is, but then you put another dot in the center of that and you get more of that burnt orange in them. I think the red golden hair is probably my favorite orange out of all of Peerless. I think it's like the prettiest color ever. I love this color. So now we are going to be working into doing our individual trees. So the best way that I have found to do this is whatever range that we're going for. So if you think about the top of your painting, you're going to do the lightest. The mid painting is going to be like a darker gray. And then the closest ones on the bottom are going to be almost black silhouettes. But then when you're working on these middle and silhouettes of this, basically this whole painting, because it's in fog, is that you start out with a very dark or gray and do your whole outline of a tree. And then as the paint is still wet, use a paper towel and dab off the bottom half of the painting of that tree that you're working on. And then you get a kind of gradient fade between light to dark. So you can kind of see how I'm doing it here. And you just get that like super, super gentle silhouette. And then I go back and add just another drop of a darker paint on the very tip of each tree so that that tip of the tree has the darkest silhouette. And then by the time it's into the fog, it's almost like it's just blending perfectly in. Like you can still see some of the trees and some of the branches, but you get that idea that the fog is like so dense around it that it's covering it up now. All right, so now that we've done most of the lighter silhouettes and that was kind of really soft gradients, we are going to come back again, and now we are going to be doing the middle and bottom layers of the trees in a much darker gray to black. And you can still work that kind of gradient, but you do want them to be a little bit more bold and a little bit closer, so a little bit bigger trees, and you'll get that depth perception starting to happen. And then also that little artist's trick, if you squint your eyes when you're looking at it and you can see like the depth, and like the further away is a little bit smaller and then closer. Sometimes it's easier to see if it's working if you squint your eyes too. So I definitely recommend trying that. But yeah, in the same way, working around the painting. And then what I did notice that I like this one better in this one than my first two paintings of this is that I did some darker silhouettes closer to my lighter silhouettes too. I just made them kind of like off center from each other. So like that little tree is a little bit closer, but still relatively the same size. I feel like it kind of gives it a little bit more detail and more realistic with the trees kind of layering each other. All right, so we are almost to the end, and this last little step I actually feel like makes a big difference, at least in the first two of mine and then to this one. But what we're going to do is take our gray or our black and make a very, very, very light. So think almost translucent gray wash, and we're going to rehydrate the bottom quarter of each tree, or maybe not every tree, but like every other. And it's just going to rehydrate those bottom branches and then soften the blend between the branches into those already kind of like graded effect that we have into the fog, the dense fog. So just makes it a little bit softer blend between each of them. And I feel like it just makes it just a little bit. It was just the little extra that it needed to make it more realistic, and just I feel like the softness of the whole painting is what makes this one, and I think it's so pretty. So once you are done with that, you can kind of go around and see if there's any little pieces that you want to be darker or lighter. I definitely feel like it looks a little bit better darker around the trees on the bottom, just to kind of give you that, again, that depth perception. But basically personal preference, that's what I did. And yeah, so basically this is getting very close to our finished painting. So pretty simple tutorial this time. But yeah, I will check back in a minute when it is finished. So I'm just adding the finishing touches of the darkest bits of the trees and the ones that pop out the most. And this one is done. So this is my completed painting, my misty, foggy mountains. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and I can't wait to see your paintings. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe and share with your friends. And if you do this tutorial, please tag us on Instagram or whatever platform you are sharing on. We would absolutely love to see your paintings, and we will see you next time.